All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to go through this example together. So I've got some different problems here on volume, and I'm going to show you how to do these, and then you'll be able to do some of these on your own. So this will be, for all purposes, our key, okay? But I have attached in the Google Classroom a blank copy of this, so if you have a printer accessible, you can print this out and you can go follow along with us. So what is the volume in cubic centimeters? So notice they have given us a unit here of a cube who measures 2 centimeters. So the key word here is cube, and we're going to start to pick up on a few different shapes, but a three-dimensional shape of a cube, okay, three-dimensional, but all sides measure the same. So you'll notice volume of a cube was not on our sheet, but a cube, right, is really just a square prism, and that is really not even a thing, but it's a, it's a prism, right? We have these regular prisms, but it's a prism in which the side is a square. For us, each side just happens to be 2. So the volume here for this question is going to be either side cubed, or some people like to look at it as if it was a rectangular prism where we'd have length times width times height. In either case, the volume is either going to be 2 cubed, or the volume is going to be 2 times 2 times 2. It's going to be the same thing. And in both cases, we're going to get 8. Now you'll notice it's in cubic centimeters. So I'm going to change the color here just to highlight this, but our unit is in centimeters cubed, okay? Each side is 2 centimeters, so we want to make sure we include that. So what is the volume? The volume is 8 centimeters cubed. Oh, looks like I'm running low on battery here. Let's see if we can finish out the video. So going to number 2, the length of a rectangular solid is 3 meters, the width is 0.6 meters, and the height is 0.4 meters. Okay, find to the nearest tenth the number of cubic meters in the volume of the solid. Okay, so we're talking about a rectangular solid here. Again, you know I stress it every day in class. I'm going to stress it now when we do the remote class. The volume must be, you gotta draw a picture for any kind of problem that you're trying to solve. For us to be able to visualize what's going on here with the volume, you gotta be able to see it in a picture. Now, as far as the length really doesn't matter here, okay? It doesn't matter what side you pick. There's not going to be a big difference here, but I'm going to call this bottom measurement here my length. My width, I'm going to make this, so this will be my 0.6. And then my height is going to be 0.4. Don't worry terribly about your drawing being to scale. Not going to be a big deal here, okay? But we are doing the volume of a rectangular prism here, okay? So my volume is going to be capital B times H, and I'm getting that right from the formula sheet. Now, for volume equals B times H, remember B is the area of the base, okay? Now I'm going to put a little extra information here that you don't have to have, so don't worry about this. Our base is a rectangle, so for us, our base is going to be length times width, okay? Or more specifically, our capital B is going to be 3.0 times 0.6. Now, you'll notice they asked us to round to the nearest tenth, okay? We shouldn't have much issue here with these numbers in the calculator, but we want to make sure that we're not rounding until the very end. Now, when I plug this into the calculator, I just get 1.8, okay? But again, make sure if we have to, we're not rounding till the very end. So now our volume is going to be base times height. So our volume is going to be 1.8 times 0.4. Okay, we're going to plug that into our calculator, so 1.8 times 0.4, and we're going to get 0.72. Now, again, I have not forgotten we need to round to the nearest tenth, so we look at the tenths place, we go over 1 to the right and decide if that's 4 or less, or if it's 5 or bigger, we've got the number 2. So our volume here, our final answer is going to be 0.7. Now, we're talking about cubic meters, so you could either do M3 or you could say volume equals 0.7, and you could actually write out cubic meters. You could do meters to the third. You have a few options here, okay? But just trying to give you a few different options here as far as what to put. Okay, so let's go on to question number 3. Okay, for question number 3, we're looking at a sphere, and they're telling us the diameter of a sphere. This is important because remember, all of our formulas rely on the radius. So if the diameter is 15, that's going to make the radius 7.5. Now they want to know what the volume of the sphere is. So let's remind you from our formula sheet that the volume of a sphere formula is 4/3 pi r cubed. Okay, again, getting this formula right from our formula sheet. Now they've asked us to round to the nearest tenth of a cubic inch. It is a multiple choice question, so we don't have to worry about that unit inches cubed at the end. Okay, but we are just going to plug in, so the volume will be 4/3 pi, and then again we had to find our radius. Our radius was 7.5. So we're going to plug in 7.5 to the third. Okay, I'm going to plug that right into my calculator, and I'm going to plug it in with the pi included since all of the answers are decimals here. Okay, again, as I always want to remind you, don't forget about that alpha y equals button. Okay, so we've got 4/3. Okay, and what I'm doing here, you can't see it, it's off screen. I will try and get in the next few days a way to kind of show you this on screen, but I'm plugging in 4/3 pi and then 7.5 to the third power. Okay, and that's going to give me 1767.145868. Okay, so I got to pick the answer. Again, I'm looking to round to the nearest tenth, although the answer does seem pretty obvious here. The volume is going to be 1767.1, which is choice B. Okay, so that shows you how to do a multiple choice question this way. Okay, let's turn to page number 2 on our worksheet and go to question number 4. Very similar to question number 1 here. The length of the edge of a cube is 2 inches. How many cubic inches are there in the volume of the cube? So again, if it helps, and it does help, I'm telling you it helps, draw yourself a cube the best you can. It is a cube, so we know that all sides are the same. Again, the volume of a cube is side cubed. I know it's not on a formula sheet. This is like a special case scenario on the volume of a regular prism where the base is side squared. Being a square, all sides are the same. So what we're looking at here is 2, 2, and 2. So for our volume, again, follows from number 1, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But 2 cubed, the volume is 8. Now they talked about it being in cubic inches, so I either need to put inches cube or I need to write 8 cubic inches, okay? But if this shows up as a free response question on the Regents, you do need to have that unit there. Okay. Number 5 is an interesting question because number 5 is asking us to find, basically, we have to find each of the volumes to find which has the greatest volume. Now, the first thing you always want to check here, because these could be trick questions, is you want to make sure that all of your units are the same. You want to make sure that you're not, and we are here, they're all the same, but you want to make sure that you're not comparing, cubic feet to cubic inches. It might think that, 10 cubic feet is a lot bigger than 100 cubic, or a lot smaller than 100 cubic inches, but one is feet and one is inches, so you just want to be careful with that. So we're going to have to go through and calculate each of these separately. So for the first one, all the sides are the same, so we have the volume of a cube, so volume is side cubed. So for us, that's going to be 4 to the third power, okay? 4 to the third power is going to be 4 times 4 times 4, which for us is 64 inches cubed. Okay, for B, we're using the volume of a sphere, which for us is 4/3 pi r cubed. They're being tricky again on answer choice B. They've given you the diameter of 4. You need to make sure you use the radius of 2. Okay, so volume is 4/3 pi and then 2 cubed. Okay, so we got to make sure that when we plug this in, we plug in accordingly. Okay, let's see what we get here. So we're going to plug in our 4/3. Okay, we're going to multiply by pi. Again, you can just use the pi button on your calculator. And when we do this, I'm going to round to the nearest tenth. We get 33.5. Okay, let's look at answer choice C. Now, answer choice C, again, they did something tricky. They gave you the diameter of the bottom of the circle. We want the radius, so we're actually going to be using r equals 2. Now, this is a cylinder here for part C. The cylinder has an area of volume formula, right? Be careful, we're sticking with volume. Volume is going to be pi r squared h. Okay, so volume is going to be pi. Our radius, again, being careful, is 2 squared. Our h is 4. Okay, and real quick before we jump on to B, our unit there for for C, our unit for B was inches cubed. For C, we're going to plug that in again using the pi button in our calculator, and we're going to get 50.3 inches cubed this time. Okay, for question D, we've got the volume of a cone. The volume formula for a cone is 1/3 pi r squared h. Again, very similar to a cylinder, but we have that 1/3 out in front. Now, again, very similar here. They gave us the diameter of 4, but we want that radius of 2. All right, so let's see what we have to do here. So volume is 1/3 pi. We're going to have 2 squared, and our height is still 4. Okay, so we're going to plug that into our calculator, see what we get. All right, so 1/3, we're going to plug in pi, we're going to plug in our 2 squared, we're going to plug in our 4, and we're going to get a grand total of 16.8 inches cubed. So when the question is which one of these is the largest, I believe, let's just check, yep, which has the greatest volume. Looking at all 4 of these, the greatest volume is choice A, which had a volume of 64 cubic inches. Okay, so a little bit of work there, but again, just want to show you how to go through that. Okay, number 6. Question number 6, a cylinder has a height of 7 centimeters and a base with a diameter of 10 centimeters. Determine the volume in cubic centimeters of the cylinder in terms of pi. Okay, let's go ahead and start by drawing our cylinder. Okay, now be careful here. They gave you the height as 7, okay, and they did give us a unit on that. But as far as the diameter goes, the diameter is 10 centimeters. We want to use the radius, which will be 5 centimeters. So just be careful with that. Now, volume formula of a cylinder, you'll go to your formula sheet. You'll look that up. Volume formula for a cylinder is pi r squared h. So all we're doing is plugging in. Pi, our radius is 5 squared, and then we're going to multiply by that height of 7. Now be careful, they said those magic words we talked about in some of the last videos in terms of pi. So meaning when we go to our calculator, I'm only going to be plugging in the 5 squared and the 7. Okay, so when I plug that in, I end up with 175. So I end up with 175, and then I just tack on the pi. So the volume there is going to be 175 pi. Okay, 2 questions left. In the accompanying diagram, a rectangular container with the dimensions 10 by 15 by 20. Again, quick check, they're all inches. It sounds silly, but this will be the part that gets you. Is to be filled with water using a cylindrical cup whose radius is 2 inches and whose height is 5 inches. Okay, again, keeping sure that our units are the same. what is the maximum number of full cups of water that can be placed into the container without the water overflowing the container? Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to find the volume of each, and then what we'll do is see how many times this smaller volume divides into the larger volume. Okay, so we're going to start with the volume of a rectangular prism, and we know that that volume formula is capital B times H. And for us, that base formula, right, the volume of the base is going to be 10 times 20. So the volume is going to be 10 times 20, which is the volume of our B, our big B, and then our height is 15. Okay, now just to point something out here, if you had seen, let's say, this 15 by 10 section as the base, you'd get the exact same answer. You would have done 15, 10, and then multiplied by a height of 20, okay? Not going to matter here. All going to be the same. So something to keep in mind, you know, nice little feature there that we have. That works. So when we plug this in, okay, again, we're using inches, so we know that our unit will be in cubic inches. But we multiply this out and we get 3,000 cubic inches. So now let's come over here and we're going to find the volume of our cylinder, the cup that we're filling with water and pouring into our rectangular prism. So volume of a cylinder is pi r squared h. Now we're lucky here, they did only give us the radius. So volume is pi, we have 2 squared and 5. We're going to plug this in. Now, for this purposes here, I'm actually going to leave this in terms of pi. So I'm going to get 20 pi, still in units of cubic inches. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is I want to know how many full cups. So no half cups, no decimals here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to round. So I'm going to take 3,000 and I'm going to divide by 20 pi. Okay, and we're going to see what we get. So again, something that you can easily plug into your calculator. And we get 471.24, and that's an approximate answer. Okay, I am rounding there. But they wanted to know full cups, so 471 cups of water. All right, so that would be how you'd solve something like that. Okay, let's take a look at number 8. The volume of a rectangular solid is 24 cubic centimeters. First sentence, they gave us the volume. Okay, volume is 24 cubic centimeters. They also gave me the width is 2 centimeters, and they gave me the length is 3 centimeters. They want to know what the height is. Okay, so again, helps, and it really does help. I'm telling you to draw the picture of your rectangular solid. So having drawn the picture of my rectangular solid, they told me that my length was 3 and my width was 2, and I don't know what the height is. So let's see if we can set up an equation that will help solve this here. So volume is base times height, and not really loving that color. Let's go to something a little bit darker here. So the volume, the base, right, that capital B, is going to be 2 times 3. The height, I don't know. But I know the answer here. They gave me the answer ahead of time. So 24 is equal to 6h. I can divide by 6 on both sides, and I'm going to get 4 is equal to h. So I can actually determine that the height is 4 centimeters. Okay, and I was able to kind of work backwards there. So there we go. Just to kind of, let's see, we obviously got 4. Just want to check our answers here. So we got that 0.7 that we were looking for. We got 8 for 1. Bear with me here for a second. Got B, we got 175 pi, but it looks like we got number 7 wrong. So let's see what happened with number 7. So at that 47, I'm going to guess that we are missing a unit somewhere. Let's see. So let's go through everything one more time. 10 times 20 times 15 is 3,000. Okay. And okay, let's take a look here. So come back over to number 7. And what I noticed was that, obviously we didn't get the answer correct. So what happened was when I plugged this into the calculator, I did not put the 20 pi in parentheses. And by not putting the 20 pi in parentheses there, okay, we ended up with the wrong answer. So let's go ahead and fix that. So when you plug this into the calculator with the 20 pi in parentheses, meaning you're dividing by not just the 20 but by the pi as well, you get 47.7. And so full cups of water, we're still looking for that full cups of water. That's going to be 47 cups of water. Okay, can't count that 0.7, a cup of water. And there we go. And there we have it, our full answer key. So you're going to now use, okay, again, hopefully you followed along on your blank copy, but you're going to now use this, and there's going to be some questions for you to answer on your own. Okay, again, I'm giving you Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday to complete all this. There are 3 videos, about 21 minutes in length total, and then there's going to be this video which goes through how to do some actual problems, and then there'll be the video. There won't be another video, but it'll just be a worksheet for you to try and submit online on your own. One last thing I want to clear up and just take a second here. You have the ability to show work. When I talk about in the Google Classroom on the message boards about showing work, this is what I'm talking about. For you to just answer, the question might be a multiple choice question where we're just circling B as the answer on the computer. But this is the kind of work here with number 3 that you have to back it up. If you don't have this work, what are we going to do? Okay, we can't do anything, right? We're in trouble. So just be careful with that. So I understand that a lot of us just kind of want to circle an answer and be done, but this is the work that we need to back it up with. You might just be typing 8 in as the answer, but what I need to see is that you're able to do this. And the hope is that we're back together soon and you can kind of hand in that work. But in the meantime, if you don't have the technology, if you can just grab the worksheets and then kind of follow along with some videos, make sure that you are showing all the work. Make sure you're showing all the steps, because again, this is the kind of work that we need to do in order to be able to get the full credit. So hope all is well. Again, ask any questions you have, post any questions as a reply to this video, and or just kind of message me directly and we'll be able to get that straight away.